Right, just quickly, so this panel is all about engagement, our current efforts, and you heard a bit more about that earlier, but this is more detailed. We're going to start with Fengshuan Liu and Yuka Kakazu of TMT, talking about their current engagement program and how it got to be that way.
Fengshuan, you're welcome anywhere you like.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sit down, standing up.
Can you hear me okay? I'll speak up. You need to use the microphone. Okay.
Thank you. And this is the tag team. I'll present with Yuko Kakazu, who managed our education outreach and broader impact. You heard a lot about the protests in 2015, 2019. It really divided up the community. And but the COVID pandemic gave us an opportunity to pause, to reflect our past, and to listen and learn. And so the question, the elephant in the room is, why are you still here given all these protests? Well, this is where we made our mistake. I wanted to find out the root cause. I want to learn from our mistakes. I want to apologize for our mistakes. And now we want to do better and see where we'll go from here. We, on behalf of my organization, we apologize for contributing to the community division. And Mauna Kea is sacred to many Native Hawaiians. Ultimately, the decision on the future of TMT rests with the Native Hawaiian and Native Hawaiian communities, and that's okay. We acknowledge that, accept that. So I became TMT project manager a little over 3 years ago, and my first decision before I took the job was I need to go to Hawaii, and I've been here for just about 3.5 years. And we have a team here, and you see Yuko here is Kyoki, and we have Leinani used to be in our team. We have a small team here, but we spend a lot of time in the community. And in the past, we have overly relied on our legal access, and we couldn't wait to do our science. And it's not like we have a bad relationship with a Native Hawaiian community. We didn't have any relationship with the Native Hawaiian community at large, at the grassroots level. So we're trying to learn from mistakes, and we spend a lot of time talking to the community member. Just for out of respect, I try to cover a lot of the faces, but I hope you can understand. This was invited by kupuna who were arrested in 2019 to Mauna Kea, and we sit around the table talking about everything from culture to summit to the astronomy. And this was, we're talking to the Royal Order of Kamehameha I, come to some of you know, some of our board members were involved in this as well. And this was a kupuna here. And the last was with Kiai leaders, and actually 3 of them in this picture were arrested in 2015 and 2019. And this was going to Maku homestead community. On the right was going to Honoka'a. And so we have talked to over 1,000 people. I take notes every week, and at least 600 of them are Kia'is who protest against TMT. These are almost all of them are Native Hawaiians. We never ask anybody to change the position to support us. Every conversation, no exception, every conversation ends much better than it starts. And we often hear we really should not blame you for everything, now that we know you're a good person, not an evil project. And the fight is not about TMT, it's not even about astronomy. And I may still oppose the construction of TMT, but we can be friends. So if I can summarize out of these, what do Hawaiian people want? They want 3 things. Respect is number 1. If you respect me, we'll be reasonable. You don't respect me, give back my kingdom, and we'll go from there. The second is part of the decision making. As you heard from Rich, it should not be just advisory, and it has to be decision-making authority and the tangible benefit to the community. And this is what you'll hear from Yuko a lot. So I want to emphasize, this is not a short PR. What we're doing is a new paradigm. And it's a fundamental change of who we are, what we do, and how we honor indigenous people, land, culture, and history. In Hawaii, it's also about history of land. We're now building long-term trust and relationship with indigenous community and co-creating a future together. And these are the criticism. I mean, these conversations can last from 1 to 5 hours each time, and it could be one-on-one, could be one with a group of 20, 30 people. How come you're the first astronomy people who come to see us? You telescope people, you intentionally ignore us. You look down on us. We're not against science. The issue is not culture versus science. We're only against the way you do science, and please don't label us anti-science. It's disrespectful. I do not see any tangible benefits from astronomy to our community. This is a grassroots community. There's no job, no workforce development, no hope for our children. Our children are struggling in school. Astronomy is damaging environmental monarchia. So I'm going to, from here on, turn into Yuko. And this is a criticism. Hopefully, it'll teach us what's the right thing to do.
Mahalo, French-Juan. Hi, everyone. I'm Yuko Kakazu. I manage education outreach programs for the 30-meter telescope. So given all these criticism from the local community, what can we do with and for the community? In fact, if you look at these criticism, these are very constructive advice for us, what we should be doing instead. And so here are what we are doing, and we are committed to genuine dialogue, especially those Hawaiians and those who we fail to reach out to, who we engage, who we missed the opportunity to engage with. And we need to respect indigenous culture. At the end of the day, Mauna Kea is ceded land. It belongs to Native Hawaiian. So it's Hawaiian community, people in Hawaii, who decides the future of Mauna Kea. We respect indigenous culture. It's the land, indigenous land. And we gotta do more workforce development, educational support, and more environmental protection and conservation. But before I talk about our new programs, I want to talk a little bit about our past community engagement. On the surface, up until 2014, our community engagement, in fact, looked successful on the surface. But at the time, we were in fact trapped in affinity bias. We're only engaging with people who are like us, who are interested in STEM, who want to be astronomer, and who already have access to STEM education. So we successfully engaged with state agencies, business, and middle-class communities. But we failed to reach out to the missing millions. The missing millions are the new term developed by National Science Board. Vision 2030 says, for the US to remain its leadership role in STEM field in the world, we must reach out to the missing millions. The missing millions are those underserved students. And in case of Hawaii, it's Hawaiians and Pacific Islanders. So our new focus is those missing millions who have not had access to STEM education or any quality education and workforce development programs. So how we co-create programs and future together? These grassroots dialogues led by French-Juan and Keoki are in fact telling us we do have a shared vision. All of us want to have a better future for our children, everybody. There's no question. And also, it's not about science versus culture. It's about how we can co-create future together. So with that shared vision, we are now co-creating a variety of programs together with the local communities. In fact, some of TMT's advisors are key protectors of Mauna Kea. We have 5 categories under new education outreach programs. Of course, the first one is education and workforce development, but we also have indigenous culture-based learning program. And we have environment protection conservation, community kokua, community volunteering activities, and professional development for our staff. we have recently launched a new Hawaiian language and culture training program for our staff. These are some of our community partners. We, of course, work with NORLab, Gemini, and UH, Mauna Kea Observatories, but also with County of Hawaii, DOE, and various nonprofit Native Hawaiian organizations. Because my time is limited, so I'm going to only talk about a few programs we are doing now. So we launched last year with Hawaii DOE, Department of Education, STEM curriculum development teacher workshops. These curriculums are now being translated into Olelo Hawaii, the Hawaiian language, so that we can also reach out to the Hawaiian Immersion School. 3 years ago, we started weekly tutoring because of the pandemic. The learning loss due to pandemic is so severe on this island. About 1,000 students couldn't move to the next grade level. So we asked the local school teachers and principals how we can assist. The answer was simple. Please come every week to our school, teach our students. Our students are struggling, please tutor them. So every Wednesday afternoon, we go to local school. In fact, Fan-chan was there earlier today, and Atsuko-san from NORLab Gemini also assists us. So if you're interested in tutoring, please join us every Wednesday afternoon. And we also have a workforce development programs. We're working with community college, and we also have a plan to build a new TIO mirror assembly lab here in Hilo to create more local jobs and STEM education workforce development opportunities. And the last one is very important because our workforce must reflect the demographics of the local community. So we have to train and we have to give more jobs, local jobs here. We, of course, work with MKO's NORLab, UH, Imiloa for various astronomy programs. I know someone was asking, what can we do, astronomers here? Well, sign up Journey. The deadline, yes, sign up, talk to Emily. Sign up Journey and talk to Emily and Leinani about Journey Through the Universe. There are many wonderful programs here, so please sign up. And also, we partner with Ohana Kilohoku, nonprofit Hawaiian organization for stargazing program. Leinani is also leading this program. This is a wonderful stargazing program for Native Hawaiian homesteads. And we assist and partner with Ohana Kilohoku. And last year, we launched a new program called Alelauloa, Global Youth Ambassador Program. This is led by Hawaii County, and this is an indigenous and traditional cultural exchange between Hawaii and TMT's partner countries, such as Japan and Canada. So last year, we sent students from Hawaii Island to Okinawa, Japan for indigenous culture exchange. Before students travel to Okinawa, we had a pre-travel workshops with navigation, Polynesian navigation experts, and we also work with Hawaiian culture practitioners. He gave workshops on hula, Hawaiian language, and culture. And in Okinawa, by the way, I'm from Okinawa, so this is so meaningful for me. In Okinawa, students exchange their culture with Okinawan students. And this year, we worked with First Nations in Canada in partnership with NRC Canada. So I actually just came back from Canada, St. Penticton Indian Band. So 8 students from Hawaii Island went to Canada, and they did exchange program, culture exchange program with the students, Penticton Indian Band students there. And everybody, all the Hawaii students told me, Auntie Yuko, it was life-changing experience. And in 2 weeks, we're going to host students from the First Nations Penticton Indian Band. So we are very honored and excited. And these Penticton Indian Band students told us that they were so inspired by Hawaiian students. Their culture, language is decaying. It hasn't been revitalized. These Hawaiian students have so much proud, so much cultural identity as Hawaiian. We must have that. So it was wonderful for me to witness that exchange and inspiration together. This is the last slide. I just wanted to let you know that TMT 2024 is totally different organization. We have a new leadership, new team based in Hilo, Hawaii, and we're co-creating various programs together with community members. This was, in fact, earlier this year, we were featured in a local newspaper, Hawaii Tribune Herald. And if you're interested in learning more about new TMT, please sign up. This is a QR code for a newsletter. And if you have any questions, advice, or critique, please reach out to us. We learn the most from criticism. So mahalo nui. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, Yuko Feng Shuan. We're going to keep questions to the end, so we'll move straight on to the next, which is Mary Beth Lachak and Nadine Manset from CFHT, just talking about the more global Mauna Kea engagement activities.
Thank you, Andy. While we're getting set up, I'm just going to say that Nadine is the chair of the Mauna Kea Observatory's, the Mauna Kea Astronomy Outreach Committee. This is Nadine. I'm going to do all of the talking since we have 10 minutes, and she just gave the 30-minute version of this talk last week. So I told her I would take the 10-minute one. I have 15. Oh, Andy, it's a good thing you told me that now, because this was not going to be done in 10 minutes, Andy. All right, I'm gonna still move really quickly. So I would like to do a land acknowledgement. And one of the things that I want to point out is, so I've lived in Hawaii for 21 years, and I love Hawaii. I love working in astronomy in Hawaii. And I acknowledge from honestly, the very first moment that I stepped on Mauna Kea, the just mana that the mountain has. And I know that with that comes an incredible privilege and allows me to do the work that I truly love. I also think acknowledging the land is absolutely fantastic and something we should all do. We should also do something for the land and the community when we can. If you live in Hawaii, this is informational only, the QR code. If you don't live in Hawaii, contemplate some things. So this QR code actually takes you to a link to our Malama Ia Maui page, which is a page we set up right after the Maui wildfires. There are two organizations that are on here, Hawaii Community Foundation and the Va'a community of Lahaina. So this is the community that one of the navigators and educators is Kala Babayan Tanaka. So many of you may have known her father, Kalepa. When I saw her at AAS in the summer, I asked if we could put the link to her voyaging community because they're in the need to get funds to rebuild their canoe. So it was lost in the fire. So if you are so inclined, there we go, no pressure. So the Mauna Kea Astronomy Outreach Committee coordinates and organizes the efforts of the astronomy community. And you notice that says astronomy community and not the observatories. We have participation from Pisces, Hawaii Science and Space Museum, the Onamzuka Museum when they were still in when they still were at the airport. It started over 20 years ago. If you want to ask exactly when, Peter Michaud would probably be the person to talk about, because 21 years, I've always known MCALC. These are a brief summary of the events that MCALC participates in. This is not comprehensive, and these don't include any activities that individual facilities do on their own. So all of the classroom visits that I do, all of the classroom visits outside the context of Journey that any facility does are not currently listed on this. So this is just an overview. I kind of like how it goes off the slide. The one on the bottom, I think, is Girl Scout STEM that M is actually working on. I will say this will not be a comprehensive overview of the outreach and community engagement efforts of the Mauna Kea Observatory. I apologize ahead of time if I forget your favorite one, because I'm certain I have forgotten some of my own. I thought of 3 that I should have included in the PowerPoint on my drive over. So I wanted to highlight Nadine highlighted in her presentation that I liberally borrowed from some signature events. These signature events are things that are organized by one or two individuals, but all of the observatories participate in. So the first one is Astro Day. We'll talk about Astro Day Kona in a little bit. This is Astro Day Hilo. This was May 2024. You see, it was a May the 4th be with you themed thing, which Mayor Roth really leaned into. You'll see Uncle Kimo in a couple of these. He always leads an opening Oli at both Astro Day Hilo, Astro Day Kona, and when we get to the Merry Monarch. And this is his nephew, who is in the process of kind of learning from him and taking that over. This is organized by Carolyn Kayachi from the University of Hawaii Institute for Astronomy, who does a phenomenal job with that. This is the Mauna Kea Coin Contest. This started in 2011 by Kumiko from the Subaru Observatory. And so this is this year's winning coin. There is, if I had longer than 15 minutes, I would actually get into the very detailed cultural context behind this coin. For right now, I will say that the coin represents the, I lied, I'm just gonna do it. So at the bottom here, we see a baby that is Kalo. And so that is the birth of Kalo, and the coin represents essentially the birth of Kalo and its significance culturally to Native Hawaiians, all the way up to a picture of the sky over the summit. This was a coin designed by Megan, who was the winner of this year's coin contest. Leinani is one of the judges, as is Nadine. I'm not going to go through all of the judging. We had, though, because it's in the notes, how many students, Nadine? Over 500 students participated. They submitted their artwork. There's oodles of prizes. And all in all, this is one of those things that students don't actually have to, as you can see, not all of them even really represent astronomy or telescopes, but just a larger, broader connection to Mauna Kea. Also organized by Carolyn, although if you're in Hawaii and you want to help organize it or organize participation in the Merry Monarch Parade next year, please let her know. This is the Merry Monarch Parade. How many of you are familiar with what Merry Monarch is? Okay, let's go with how many of you are not. All right, so it is the absolutely massive Super Bowl of hula that occurs in Hawaii every single year, usually in April. That if you've never seen a Miss Aloha hula, it's like magic floating on the stage. There is a parade that precedes it. So this is a 3-day-long hula festival. The Saturday before is a parade. The observatories have marched in this parade for a long time. Carolyn just looked at me and said long. I don't remember the first year we did it. I will say we did march in the parade in 2019 and everything went absolutely fine. So the community was, even if they didn't clap for us, they took our candy. These are some examples just of broader Mauna Kea community and education examples. I'm going to highlight 3 specifically: Mauna Kea Wonders Teacher Workshop, Mauna Kea Scholars, and then I have a slide that talks about our non-educational efforts. So the Mauna Kea Wonders Teacher Workshop is one of those ideas that was started by the East Asian Observatory years and years ago. And their idea was, as a smaller staff, they knew that they couldn't make an absolutely massive impact going into the community in a traditional sense. So they worked with the University of Hawaii at Hilo Education Program, which has a coursework for students getting their master's degree. And they teach students who will become teachers. Many of them are active teachers who are pursuing a master's degree. They're over the course of 7 workshops. There have been 126 participants. They go to Imiloa. They do both cultural presentations. I believe the Gemini team does Star Labs for them every single year. If you have more questions about that, ask Leinani and Emily, because I believe they're probably both in this picture. They do a summit tour, and it's just an all-around wonderful experience. I was given time to talk, so we're going to talk about Mauna Kea Scholars because I run the program and have for the past 9 years. It is a student-driven research opportunity for Hawaii Public High School students to use the Mauna Kea observatories and University of Hawaii affiliated telescopes to conduct their own astronomical research. So there are two really important critical terms in blue. A different shade of blue. One is student driven. This is not a project where the student is said, you are going to study black holes, you are going to study galaxies. They have the freedom to choose whatever topic interests them. And they do their own actual astronomical research, going to observatories. We have another run at IRTF, actually November 9th, where we'll be observing again at IRTF. This is twice for me this year. And the other word that I could emphasize was Hawaii Public High School students. As Yuko alluded to, there is a massive discrepancy in the state of Hawaii in education and educational opportunities for students who go to private schools versus students who go to public schools. So in Waimea, on my way to school, on my way to work, I drive past 5 schools, 2 of which are private, 1 of which is the most expensive private school in the state, Hawaii Preparatory Academy. It is a wonderful school. I will never speak poorly of it. They don't need this program. They go on safaris. They have like wonderful opportunities. And there is no difference between a student who goes to HPA as who goes to Honoka'a 15 miles down the road, where school life is just a little bit different. It's very, very rural. I don't have my full map of all of the schools that participate. At the high point pre-pandemic, we're on every single island. I'm very happy to say that this year we are going back to Molokai. So we have schools this year, 4 on Hawaii Island, 1 on Molokai, 1 on Lanai, i.e. the only 2 high schools on Molokai and Lanai, and then 4 on Oahu. Last year, we added Kamehameha Schools, Kapalama. The year before, Kamehameha Schools, Keao. I will break my no private schools for those 2 because it's a phenomenal opportunity and experience. These are a lot of facts that I am not going to point out, but I am going to point out this picture. So these are the students from Waiakea High School. I think one thing that when people hear about this program, they often misunderstand is that the program only works with the best and the brightest students at a school. And that is entirely not true. The school has the freedom to put it into the curriculum wherever they would like. Happen to know there's an alumni of the program in the room, and I am now at a point where I can walk into a room and see a program alumni. They went to Waiakea High School in year 1, 9 years ago. 8 years ago, we made a switch at Waiakea where we now work with the credit recovery students. So these are the students that, let's just say, science isn't their jam. To be in credit recovery science by 11th grade, you have not passed science. So the idea that the teacher had and that has been absolutely incredible is to work with the students and have them do science instead of learn about science in the book. That is not all of the students in the class. These are all of the students who received telescope time or were honorable mentions. If you have a frame, you receive telescope time. If you have an honorable mention, you just have a certificate and a lay. For many of these students, it's the very first time they've ever received an academic honor. There were 68 students at that school alone that we worked with last year. Between myself and Doug Simons, the director of IFA, whom you saw earlier, we bought all of the lays in Hilo and Waimea because we needed 34, and I didn't have a chance to order them because you can't order lays for pickup before 7 a.m. Fun fact. We also have our first program alumni who graduated with a degree in astronomy was in 2023. I believe the second one was 2024. 2023, I have to amend the slide. See, you just like let everybody know who you are. I wasn't even gonna mention it. 4 are currently enrolled in astronomy or physics programs, and 1 is a teacher at Kapolei High School running the program. I happen to know there are other ones who are teachers in elementary school as well. Moving past that, I see Mauna Kea Scholars in many senses as a potential first step in engaging and encouraging students in science once we get to that high school level. The Akamai internship program is an absolutely wonderful internship program. Every summer, this is the Akamai cohort here. You have to either have gone to high school in Hawaii or graduated from high school in Hawaii or attend college in Hawaii to participate in Akamai. All of the observatories tend to have Akamai internships. Keck has a wonderful electrician apprenticeship program. If you have questions, ask Rich. This program works with their master electrician and was the brainchild of their master electrician, Jerez, where the students actually learn how to do high voltage industrial electrical work, which helps them move into their journeyman state. There aren't many places on this island that you can actually get that experience, meaning it's really hard to be a journeyman, meaning it's really hard to get paid the good money of being a journeyman or a master electrician. And so they're on their third student. The second one was hired at Subaru the day after he finished his internship. We also have other internships that we work with. One of the big things is I'm talking about 10 different facilities. I want you to think that in mind. And so everybody does their own thing. But coordination is really something that we're working towards doing more of. So we're in the process of writing a job description for Mauna Kea Observatory's intern coordinator position. This position is in development, which means there'll be one person who can go and work with the community colleges or the Department of Education or different organizations that exist. I was at a conference on Monday, the Future of Work, and there are all of these amazing workforce development programs, but it is almost impossible to know who they all are and what they all do if that's not your only job. I also just wanted to point out some non-educational community engagement examples. It was one of the things that was brought up. I caught the very end of the last panel. I was much like Fen Chuan, he was tutoring today. I was mentoring, so I was a little late. And I heard that one of the comments was, what can you do? And the thing is, be in the community. So these are just some examples of that. We have our and I will just fully say these are CFHT and Keck biased because those were the photos I had on my cell phone. So this is not a statement that the other observatories don't participate. I just got back from vacation last week and put a PowerPoint together. So if it wasn't on my cell phone or I couldn't easily text you, then there might not be a picture. So I just want to make that very clear. There is a bias based on what I have on my phone. And so here is Cow for Keiki. This is a program that we, CFHT and Keck, have partnered on the past 2 summers. This is a critical program funded by the USDA that is facilitated on island by a wonderful organization called Vibrant Hawaii that feeds kids in the summer. So in addition to the missing millions that Yuko mentioned, one of the key fundamental pieces of that is food insecurity. There are so many kids in the state on island, over 5,000 for exact, because that's how many kids got Cow for Keiki food distribution, and that didn't fulfill the need, who just don't have the food they need over the summer. So this program, they bring a big truck, 2 big trucks to your establishment, and you pool everything into your building. You get literally everybody in the building to come and pack food, and then you hand out food. Very stressful if you are the organizer, and I believe Mariella and Keiko will agree with that, because you know what? Sometimes the USDA can do surprise inspections. Thankfully, they were the Hawaii chapter of the USDA, and all they wanted to do was talk story about how Auntie lives in Waimea. So that was quite the relief for me. There's an incredible amount of holiday activities. I know that Leilani is going to talk about the Queen Liliuokalani Gardens because we coordinated that. So I wanted to point out the Waimea Christmas Parade. This dark picture here is the Santa float in the Waimea Christmas Parade. Speaking of activities that were incredibly stressful, was for the first time last year, CFHT and Keck were asked to be Santa for the parade. Raise your hand if you've been to a Waimea Christmas parade. Okay, it's a 64-year-long tradition, and they want us to bring Santa in. We replaced the hospital, so that was a lot of stress. It went well. We're Santa again this year. Not going to be less stressful because Santa is an absolutely wonderful individual. And it rains, and you've not lived until you have told some 5-year-old that Santa's coming. It's like telling telling kids that like a certain demographic that Taylor Swift's on their way, these kids went nuts. The theme was voyaging, and so that is a va'a from the Kauai High Canoe Club that we borrowed. At CFHT, we have a smart telescope program. This is an image here where these telescopes are made available for members in the community. This is a student, the Christian Wong at the Hawaii Science and Technology Museum has one of them. This is an event where this kid very proudly is showing a photo that he took himself. So there are some of these telescopes. If you have more questions, please let me know. There's an incredible amount of INA-based projects. I know Jean-Gabriel and Doug mentioned tree planting and weed pulling. This picture over there is a picture of me planting trees. There's a lot of those. There's community educational boards, there's school boards, there's all kinds of things. There's scouting. These are things that you do when you live in a community. For example, I'm on 3 school and community councils and the vice president of the community association. All of that happens because I live in Waimea. And these are people that I work with. These are schools that I have worked with where they acknowledge that these are the kinds of things that happen when you're a part of your community. I am not alone in this, but again, I'm doing the presentation. Family Food Truck Friday is one of the like absolutely brilliant things that Keck does. And every Friday, they've got a really nice front lawn and they work with an absolutely amazing group called Naupaka Events, who does all of the planning, all of the work, finds the food trucks. They show up at Keck. And it's incredible for me. 1 minute, I'm good, Andy. It's incredible for me because my husband works there and we eat there every Sunday, every month. We have an incredible amount of community event sponsorships. I don't even know what else. And this is my last slide. Nope. And it's blank. Upcoming events. It would have been terrible if I didn't give a shout out to the Astronomy on Tap people because they are the organizers of this conference. There is another upcoming Waimea Food Truck Friday. I have to give a plug for the Waimea Solar System Walk and our birthday celebration. If you're gonna be on island, please come. I'm in the process of securing a really awesome band. And by awesome band, I found them out because they remember the Honoka'a Science Club last year. And last but not least, Astro Day Kona. So yeah, and I finished on time. Ish. 1 minute, Andy? 2 minutes, Andy?
I was generous.
Okay, I'll take that. Thank goodness it wasn't 10.
Thank you, Mary Beth. And now hand over to Leinani and Emily to talk about Gemini's efforts.
Aloha mai kako. Good to see a lot of you again. Mahalo nui for staying so late in the day to hear about all of our awesome events here in Hawaii. So we're the last presentation, the last tag team. I think it's kind of fun that everyone who has talked to you for this panel has been a team of 2. And it just goes to show that a lot of the work that we do requires teamwork, and not just our teams, but all of you as well. People who are visiting too, there's a lot of opportunities. Just reach out and there's probably something going on here that you can participate in. So I'm going to go through a few of our different programs that we have at Gemini Observatory, but as you've heard from all of our other presenters as well, we do a lot of things together, which just makes more sense. So to start, I want to talk about why we do the programs that we do. Whoops. And how we've started to shift some of our programming as well. Because Mauna Kea observatories have been on Mauna Kea for such a long time now, 50 years, outreach wasn't always the forefront of what we were trying to accomplish, and how outreach has evolved is very much reflective of how our community has evolved and how our involvement within community has evolved. So in the past, we might have done things that were more outward serving, like here's all the knowledge I have to give to you. But now it's more about a two-way engagement of understanding there's a lot of things that we don't know that our community has to share with us. This is very much inclusive of a lot of Indigenous knowledge that's still very much alive and well today. And thinking about how we can develop relationships with people who are practicing different perspectives of the sky and of the world and of science itself, and how that evolves our programs and even how we do science. So keeping in mind both Mauna Kea and our community, this is the programs that we've come up with to try to advance our relationships. Okay, so first I want to mention all of the collaborations that we do with the other MKOs. So Mary Beth had a beautiful extensive list. I'll just touch on a couple of things here. And so just recently we had the Tanabata Block Party. The Tanabata Festival is a Japanese cultural event. We have a very large Japanese population here in Hilo. And it was really great for all the observatories to come together and essentially have open house of a lot of our offices on the single road behind Imiloa, and just open up our space to our community, as well as celebrate this cultural heritage that we have here. And then we do the garden enchantment at Liliuokalani Gardens. This is a really fun event because we were invited to be a part of this by the Friends of Liliuokalani Gardens. So through volunteering with this very culturally significant park right here in Hilo, Hawaii, right walking distance from this hotel. Hopefully you've all gotten to walk through it. We get to reach a lot of community members who maybe don't come to Astro Day or come to stargazing, but when they see us at this light show, they're like super stoked to look through a telescope and look at the moon or have a star pointed out to them. So it's really fun. And then lastly, I just want to mention the Girls Exploring Math and Science is a program that we've participated with for a really long time. They bus fifth graders from all over the island to an area in Kona, and this year it's actually going to be in a spot that is managed by Kamehameha Schools, in which there are 3 different heiau that have been repaired, and heiau are Hawaiian temples. And one of them is actually, there's an archaeological site that marks the solstices and equinoxes for the sun. So I think it's really awesome that they're having this event in that space, and we're going to be there to be able to talk about the astronomy that takes place on Mauna Kea and about that archaeological site in Kona. All right, so one program that hasn't been mentioned yet, but maybe it has a little bit, is the Kama'aina Observatory Experience. This actually started in, I want to say 2018, and it provides free tours to the telescopes on Mauna Kea. And the really special thing about that is that it also provides transportation. So Gemini actually has free tours every other week almost of our telescope, but you have to drive yourself up, which can be really hard if you don't have four-wheel drive. Renting four-wheel drive is really expensive. And so the Kama'aina Observatory experience in providing transportation is actually really huge. It's a dangerous road. There's been a lot of accidents and even deaths on that road. So it's really important to us to increase access to this space. And why it has this name as well, Kama'aina means children of the land, or people who are born and raised in Hawaii. So you have to be a Hawaii resident to sign up to come and do these tours. And so Gemini has been tasked to, we volunteered ourselves to restart this program after it paused during the pandemic. And so we're working to bring this observatory experience back to our community, but also to incorporate a bit more traditional protocol in how we visit the mountain. So there's an ahu, or a temple. I'm blanking on the English word right now. Altar, thank you. In Ahu, very close to the visitor center level. I actually encourage all of you to go and check it out when you go on Friday. But it's a good space to go to and essentially ask for permission before you enter into the space. That is one way in which we view traditional protocol. And so it's really important to us to change how we do things so that we are acting in a way as if we belong here, as if we were born and bred here, which many of us are. And as the observatories continue to change the way we do business to match the customs that are actually practiced here, then we become a more welcoming space for more Hawaiians and local people to feel like they belong within the observatories. Which leads me to my next slide. It has a very similar name, which is the Kama'aina Connections Program. And so this program is a bit of a professional development program for our staff within the observatories and actually within all of Hawaii Astronomy. So other organizations like Hawaii Spaceflight Lab have joined us for this as well. And it brings together small groups of Kama'aina staff, so people who are born and raised in Hawaii, to be able to kind of just bond over a lot of the issues and things that come up as a local person within observatory space, because there is a disconnect sometimes between how things are done within these organizations that admittingly have a lot of their management in other places that are not Hawaii. And so when we bring all of our staff together in a way that they can feel safe and heard, it actually empowers them to go back into their workplaces and have more of a voice to make change within their spaces for the better for all Kama'aina. So yeah, so that's a really great program that we're happy to co-lead with Keck Observatory, but of course it's open to everyone to participate. And then Ohana Stargazing is a program that Yuko mentioned. We really love it. It's an awesome program. I started it with Ohana Kilahoku while I was working with TMT. And it's very much about having public stargazing events in culturally significant sites. So sometimes these are Hawaiian homesteads, sometimes these are heiau or the Hawaiian temples. And by being in these spaces and creating a safe space for all perspectives of the sky to be shared. So we have astronomy students who talk about how awesome their telescopes are and all the cool things they're looking at within the telescope. And then we have kupuna or elders and cultural practitioners who talk about the Hawaiian lunar calendar or about navigational star lines, all in the same space. And it's really fun. They actually, sometimes our presenters end up sharing with each other and everyone gets to learn something new. So we're really, really proud of this program and the ways in which it continues to expand and develop. And then, as everyone mentioned, I'm super proud that this was mentioned in everybody's thing. Aloha Aina is a critical tenet of what it means to live in Hawaii and is at its core a Native Hawaiian value. So Aloha Aina means to care for the land. And yes, it's true that no matter where you live, that is something you should practice, but it is especially true when you live on an island and your resources are finite as well. So a part of what we do within our team is finding different Aloha Aina opportunities, from planting trees on Mauna Kea to restoring local fish ponds here in Hilo, and encouraging staff to come out and be a part of that. And it's been really fun. And then we've also started a talk story program, which is essentially like cultural education for our staff. And so once a month, we have just casual little talks about what are the programs that are going on at Gemini, and usually features different cultural mini talks as well. So we've talked about Merry Monarch, we've talked about Hawaiian Language Month, and in this photo, we had a lei making class, which one of our day crew members, we all got to learn, is actually like a master lei maker. So super cool. He's been making lei for his kids for like over 10 years. And that was just really awesome. I think, yes, this is my last slide. This is my last slide, and then I'm going to invite Emily Peavy to come up and talk about a few more of our programs, some of our flagship things. But in general, for what we want to accomplish, in addition to having like these set programs, one of which you'll learn about afterwards, we want to be adaptable to what our community needs as well. So if people need tutoring, if people want classroom visits, if they want to invite scientists to do public talks, if they want to visit our base facility, we need to have that flexibility to accept whatever request comes our way. And that's part of what you see here. And then a little Astronomy on Tap plug as well. So please go check that out on Thursday. Okay, thank you. And here's Emily.
I'm going to go back for a moment because I realize I should actually be embarrassed because this previous slide has me at my last Astro on Tap presentation and I'm wearing the same dress. Sorry, that was my first Astro on Tap presentation. And I'm the last speaker for the day, so hopefully you guys are a little bit awake at least. So, but Gemini's flagship program for education and engagement in Hawaii is a 20-year-long program called Journey Through the Universe. And everyone who has interacted with me in the past month and a half, you'll be surprised to learn that I'm only the third person tonight to have told you to sign up for Journey Through the Universe. Through the Journey Through the Universe, we engage, the Gemini iteration of Journey Through the Universe engages with the Hilo Waikea district here on Hawaii. Mary Beth also helps flagship some journey activities up in Waimea as well. And we're also exploring the possibilities of getting to the third complex of Hawaii Island. Through this program, oh, there you go. Astronomy professionals will visit the Hawaii DOE classrooms and for presentations, career panels, sharing all the amazing, exciting things that are happening here on our island in relation to astronomy. Last year, we had 300 plus classrooms that were visited and reached over 5,000 students. We do encourage everyone in order to sign up for Journey Through the Universe. The deadline's actually this Friday. Although if you get it in by Monday, I'm sure we'll still be able to take you. Sign up is right over here. I do need to put an asterisk that Journey is not able to support financial assistance for travel. However, if you need to brainstorm a second reason to come sort of thing, we can help you with that. Yes, Journey Through the Universe is a fantastic program that is been helping our students for years and years now. In addition to Journey Through the Universe, we also have our Hale Hoku, or our portable planetarium. Our portable planetarium program participates as a part of Journey Through the Universe, where we visit the younger students as well, the students that are a bit too young in order to fully gain important things from a classroom presentation, a science presentation. But we are able to take students inside the portable planetarium, give them lessons on stars, the moon, and engage with students in this way. I also wanted to bring up our work and thinking about our role in the overall astronomy education research on an international scale as well. Hawaii is a very, very unique community, and the struggles that Hawaii has had with engaging with our own community communicates how astronomy needs to be engaging with their communities on this broader scale as well. And I think this is something that we can be working on in order to be putting research efforts towards and be thinking about how we can be moving forward to a better future as astronomers, as the astronomy industry as well. Getting into just how unique the astronomy community or Hawaii is, and this was touched on by so many of our different presenters earlier on. Hawaii is one of the most remote locations in the world. It's also one of the most diverse places in the world. The 2020 US Census gave the Hawaii County a diversity index of 77.7%, which places it the fourth highest in the United States. I actually kind of disagree with how the census data is collected. I think we should actually be higher based off of how the census data is collected. But what that index means is that if you're a resident of Hawaii and you go and meet another person, there's a 77.7% chance that that other person is of a different race or ethnicity than you are. And that makes it very, very, very special. And that means that there's a lot of different culture, there's a lot of diversity within our community. However, Hawaii is also very remote. It is very, very rural. That also means that resources are very, very low. And astronomy likes rural areas. Astronomy needs rural areas because when we go to areas that aren't rural, we're dealing with light pollution, we're dealing with all these things. But rural, low light pollution also means that the community that the observatory is existing in is also probably struggling in many different ways. And that just leads me to kind of our final question. that I want to close on is astronomy a good neighbor in our communities? How do observatories and science institutes contribute to the community health of the areas that they are physically in? How can we be doing better? Or how are we doing? Can we be doing better? I see here in this room, we have so many wonderful educators and people who engage. The people on this panel with me are absolutely amazing. They are rock stars and they are powerhouses. All of us here on this panel, we're also incredibly, incredibly fortunate because we work for institutes that are prioritizing education and engagement. I work with other astronomers and other professionals that want to do engagement, that want to do education, but their option for doing education and engagement is 3% of their job on top of something else, which I think as an industry looking at, we need to be assessing as well. But I'll close a little bit early as the last talk of the day, and I'll go over for some questions.
Okay, thank you, Emily. And so we have some time. Brian has told me that we can go on till about 1:45. So we have time for questions for the panel. And so let's just make sure that they all have. Okay, we have a microphone. Okay, I'll throw it open.
Hi. I have a general question. There is a lot of activities that are targeting the youngest generation. Is there anything that is targeting older generation, the one that maybe they're not super willing to listen to us, or there is, I mean, I don't want to use us and them, like, but there is like more resistant to actually engage with fancy activity, going out and doing like going to school because it simply is not their normal life.
Taking Andy's. So I would say that there's 100% of a selection effect in the presentations that we gave today, right? And a large part of that is not that those are the only activities that we do, but that a lot of traditional outreach tends to be geared towards formal and informal education. Where I think, to answer your question, a lot of the community-based work is really where you meet people who are older, who are adults, who might not have children. And so that's where, in my mind, you know, it is easy to find a captive audience of 5-year-olds. And when you have limited resources and limited budgets, and more importantly, limited staff, those are the things that the people that reach out and the low-hanging fruit. Meeting with members of the community, having those conversations like TMT alluded to, CFHT's director has alluded to, a lot of that work that's been done is evening and weeknights. That is stuff that you can do and meet really wonderful people. I'm just going to keep throwing the planting in there, planting trees, pulling weeds, being on the Waimea Community Association, Food Truck Friday at Keck, the Tanabata Festival, their Kauai Canoe Club, or paddling in general. Like so many people paddle. And I know that, so this morning was a solar eclipse that I honestly forgot about. But one of my coworkers, he paddles with the Kauai Canoe Club. He emailed me yesterday, asked where my eclipse glasses were. He sorted through my office and found them, and he took those down to the Kauai Canoe Club. You know, that club, some of them skew a little bit older who are more interested in astronomy. Let's be honest, no offense, they skew a little older. So I do think this is the demographic that you're talking about. And it's those opportunities for me that really build off of having relationships and being in the community. I'll also say never underestimate the power of a talk in a bar, because whether or not you're actually at the Hilo Tavern tomorrow night for an Astronomy on Tap talk, you're hearing it and the people are good and friendly. Like, don't be a jerk. and be engaged and active in the community. And I think that the older populations, now that's not to say that there isn't work that could be done, like going into nursing homes and working with senior centers. And I think that's one of the areas that we could do better on. But I think that's my like short answer for you. But if you want to volunteer talking to a local senior center, I am pretty certain that someone on this panel can find you seniors.
I also just reiterate that the older you get, the more the audience becomes self-selected for engagement education events. And there's no harm in talking with people who are already interested in science as well, but it's just something in order for us to be keeping in mind. However, programs such as our tours of the observatories and the Kama'aina Observatory experience, that needs to be going older because people under the age of 13, is it 13 now? 16, usually we say 16, under the age of 16 are not able to go up to the summit to begin with. So those are definitely geared more towards older audiences.
May I add to that? Sorry, so my boss, Funchan, has another meeting, so he has to run to speak with more kupuna.
No, you can answer this. Sorry, I have a 6 hour event with a unit. So
So in addition to almost daily meeting with kupuna and community members that we have at TMT, we are also working with community college for dual credit program for adult learners. For example, in Ka'u High School, they are of course high school students, but there are also community members, adult learners who wish to get college dual credits. So we assess that kind of program. And we invite kupuna, knowledge keepers, cultural practitioners to teach our staff and how we can improve our learning and how we can better understand and integrate the knowledge, indigenous knowledge system on how we do science on indigenous land. So thank you, mahalo.
Okay, one last thing. So the Ohana Stargazing program has been really successful in reaching a wide range of people because when you go to an event as an Ohana, especially a local Ohana, you're probably going with your keiki and your grandparents. So you got keiki, parents, grandparents. So we do actually tend to have a lot of kupuna or elders at Ohana Stargazing. And a lot of times the cultural practitioners that we're reaching out to be speakers at these events to share their knowledge are kupuna as well. Because just the way that sometimes it goes with being a cultural practitioner, when you're not a kupuna, you feel like you have so much more learning to do, and kupuna are the ones who should lead things, and they're the ones that we should listen to. So you really sometimes don't get into teaching until you're a kupuna and all your younger people are demanding that you teach them something. And so, yeah, Ohana Stargazing, I think, very much captures a wide range, but especially our kupuna is a big focus for who we engage with that program. And the very last event that we did, actually, not the last one, it was the one before, we essentially at the end of it were like, you know what, all the kapuna and keiki were happy even though the sky was completely clouded out. So we were like, it was a success because the elders and the kids still had tons of fun even though we looked at no stars.
I was just curious about the education of the missing millions thing. Like, who are the people who actually go out and do like the tutoring at the schools, if they're volunteers or TMT employees?
So for weekly tutoring, that's us. So Fenchon, me, also Atsuko-san from Gemini, and we also have software engineer Angelique, and we also have Tomo Usuda. He is TMT Japan project manager, and we go tutoring every Wednesday. So if you're interested, please join us. We actually have 45 students today, this afternoon, who are struggling with math homework. And I believe next week is the DOE fall break. So the tutoring session will start in November 3rd or 4th. I forgot the exact date. But if you're interested in joining us, please let me know. Yeah, and we also have other educational programs like the teacher workshops and STEM curriculum development. It's led by master teacher here in Hilo Intermediate School, has amazing teacher, Pascal. So she is creating curriculum and she does teacher workshops from science teachers from rural areas like Ka'u, Na'alehu, and also Kohala, all these areas. And she is implementing the NGSS Next Generation Science Standard-based curriculum, but because the problem is that science teachers don't know how to teach curriculum, how to develop curriculum. This is the biggest issue. If science teacher doesn't know how to teach science, how can students learn? And so that's why we started this program under Pascal's leadership. And all our programs are led by community members, not by us. So this is led by community members, but we execute together, we work together, and will be ultimately reviewed by the committee, which includes KIE leaders. So, mahalo.
Thank you. Since Yuko put a plug in for tutoring in Hilo, I'm going to put a plug in for mentoring in Waimea. So in Waimea, we work with the KEC and CFHT, work a lot with the Waimea Middle School. And so the need that they've expressed, and to Yuko's point and the ones that Leinani and Emily mentioned, a lot of it is listening to the community surrounding you. So Waimea Middle School has a mentoring program. Their mentoring program is you can tutor. Really depends on the grades of the person you're mentoring. You can tutor. A lot of that is being an adult who cares. And so for a lot of students, that is kind of what they need in addition to the tutoring. And so I will just speak for myself because I'm really only going to share stories I've heard from mentoring for myself. So I've been mentoring for a while. And, today the student that I worked with, she just wanted to teach me a new game. We played Uno. We've come to the conclusion that we can't play Pictionary because I'm abysmal and she doesn't want to play Pictionary with me anymore. It did not go well. And so those are the kinds of things that we did today. We chatted while we did that. So I know what's coming up with her. She has, told me about some things that not her, but all of the students, all of the girls I've mentored, have told me about things that, are going on in their lives. Middle school is such an important age range. And then, particularly, I'll put the plug out, a lot of the mentoring is done by women. And in particular, it's really important to see a lot of men engaged in mentoring. So I know that both KEC and CFHT have a lot of staff that mentor. KEC does some really awesome work. And I'm the only other person that I'll talk about is my husband, because he also mentors. He also works at KEC. The kinds of things that he has helped students through are things that are serious, things that are when you hear that this is something that's going on with a 13-year-old or a 14-year-old or something like that, it really does break your heart. And so I will say that there are so many components to a student that contributes to the missing millions that you asked about. There's the educational component. There's also the socioeconomic. There's also the social emotional, and having kids that feel, smart and seen and empowered, and to the tutoring efforts, it really helps a kid when they don't feel dumb anymore. And I don't think any children are, but kids think that about themselves. They think that about other kids. The number of kids that I've worked with, I'm certain, Yuko, you would say the number of kids that have said that to you as well. That's not something we want kids to feel. And if there's any way to help prevent that, I think that's really, really incredible work. And that goes towards filling that missing millions, as does food. So participate in anything that feeds people.
Yeah, we've run out of time. Do we have time for one more?
Yeah, I'll ask one more.
Okay,
Don't mind.
if there's one more question, we have time for it. If not,
I'm gonna ask it if you don't mind.
okay.
So, yeah, I'll take by fiat. Okay, there's a lot of people here from this conference that are not on Hawaii Island. This is wonderful. Everything you guys talked about is wonderful. I come from somewhere else besides Hawaii Island. When I was at my academic institution, I knew nothing about any of this. How do we port this knowledge over to those institutions, and in which way could people from those institutions that are, well-intentioned and passionate, how can we have conduits to, engage both in this community and then in other communities abroad?
I'm gonna go first because I have to run after. And I think it's funny that Brian asked this question because he is a big part of a program in which people can engage from remote locations. So Shadow the Scientist is basically a completely remote program in which they reach schools all over the world and shadow science that is done all over the world just via a Zoom connection. So that's one way in which this work can be done. And then besides that, it's, you really have to reach out yourself as well. Like you have to put in the effort to engage your community or to engage communities that you're not a part of. So you have to do a little bit of research before you go. And even just talking to that institution who's organizing the conference that you're going to go do science at, and asking them like, hey, who can I contact about like outreach or some sort of learning that I can do while I'm there? And hopefully they'll be able to help you. So yeah, thank you. And thank you everyone for listening to us. Sorry, I have to run.
I think we should get a big round of applause for Leilani, who came back from leave this week and is now speaking at a conference. So congratulations. She was also named one of Hawaii's most influential people under the age of 40 and was at a party last month. So I just wanted to make sure she heard that before she walked out the door. She can go back to the baby. So I have so many answers to your question, and if anybody wants to talk in depth, please let me know. I can give you my email address. I think some of the short answers are: one, you've all come to this conference. It is 5:46. You've stayed. This either matters to you or you're too embarrassed to get up and leave, which I'll take, which means that you now can be evangelists, right? So when you go back to your home institution, you can talk about this kind of work. Two, reach out to people in your community. I echo everything Leilani said. Three, if you're planning on attending the January AAS meeting, as of today, I found out we will have a splinter session on continuing these discussions on community-based astronomy practices, not just learning from Hawaii, but also talking, more globally about those opportunities. And I have no date or time, but please look for that splinter session. It'll be an afternoon. It's in the daytime. And that's organized by myself and Christine Matsuda. And number 3, how many of you have an NSF grant? Raise your hand if you've got an NSF grant. All right. For those of you who aren't Yuko, because she's sitting at the table here, any of you who apply for NSF grants, any of you apply for any kinds of grants, there is a broader impacts section. Ask yourself what you're going to do with that money. And I don't mean that critically. I mean, ask yourself what you're going to do with that money. Ask for more than you think. You can ask for, like at CFHT, we've put in grants where we've received 10% of the total amount. You don't know what to do with that money, you can reach out to any of us. And think of it in these terms, if you are acknowledging Mauna Kea, if you are acknowledging Mauna Kea data in your paper, in your proposal, you have a power with a broader impacts. That means that there are programs that we can collaborate on, whether that is some funding that is sent in this direction, whether it is travel for yourself to come and visit and do a workshop. The possibilities are really, really endless. And this is a big push that I have been making recently. This is the 3rd presentation that I have given in the past week. This is the 3rd time I have mentioned this. So there are so many people who would want to collaborate in Hawaii for your home institution, not all of the money should or needs to come here. There are going to be resources on your campus. Make friends outside your department and really talk to people in the education department on the college. If, like Caillou mentioned earlier in her answer to a question, if you're at a school that has an Indigenous community, that has an Indigenous house, that has an Indigenous student organization, go and talk to them and say that you have this funding. What kind of support would they be interested in? Could you co-collaborate with them? And don't go and say that this is what I want to do, and here I'm gifting this to you. Really work and make it collaborative. You can still hire postdocs. You can still hire graduate students. Just ask for maybe a little bit more on top of that. And really provide some fantastic opportunities. I'll use just a real quick example because no one's taken the mic away yet. In the photo that I had there was a picture of a student so my coworker Sam Barden has an ATI NSF grant that he's working on. He's wrapping up. As part of that grants into the broader impacts, we wrote 2 students, an undergraduate, well, they ended up being 2 undergraduate students. They were both paid stipends. They both went to AAS. One of them went to AAS, one of them went to SPIE. They were both invited. That's personal issues. The other one wasn't able to make it. In addition to that, you're sitting there, you're thinking like, yeah, Sam, that's awesome. There's an additional $10,000 in this broader impacts. This is a $500,000 grant. Broader impacts for place-based, project-based educational engineering design curriculum. Now, I ended up with that money because I wrote the NSF broader impacts. And what we've done with that is more than I thought we could. So that money is now funding an entire series of curriculum development for the Hamakua Sugar Festival. That is Aina-based. They're talking about kalo. They're talking about all kinds of things created by teachers. And I still owe them parts of the place-based, project-based engineering design that I said I would do. But that's fine. I just have to actually write it down. And that was for less than $10,000 because there's going to be money left over. That was supplies, that was teacher stipends, it was all kinds of stuff like that. So keep that in mind. A less than $500,000 grant, $10,000 for broader impacts, plus 2 undergraduates and travel for 2 undergraduates to 2 conferences, including an SPIE in Japan. And they went for it. So I would strongly just recommend that. I'm sure Journey Through the Universe wouldn't turn that down. I'm sure that there's many other opportunities. So if you want to collaborate, let us know.
Okay, thank you. I think we really have to wrap this up. So thank you to the panel. Great discussion, great presentations. I hope you've all got something to take back to your institutions with you to talk about when you get home. Good, thank you.